Welcome into Full Court Press on Coast2Coast Sports. I'm Richard Geraffo, that's Jordan Desouza, and over there is Collin Terlecki. Before we start today's show, I'd like to make a very important announcement to all of you. The NBA is back, baby! After what felt like forever, the second half of the NBA season has started with a slate of games that filled the basketball void in all of our hearts. On today's show, we'll be discussing the prospect of a playoff seeding restructure, the Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell race for Rookie of the Year, and our second half regular season outlooks. Lots of topics and lots of opinions to get to. On Coast2Coast Sports, let's get it started. So, first topic of the day, we're going to talk about the playoff restructure. This has been proposed, and it's starting to be talked about in league offices as of late. But instead of doing the traditional Eastern-Western Conference of 8 seeds, now the NBA is looking into just doing the top 16 teams in the league, disregarding the conference standings. So, if this were to take place today, and the playoffs started today with this format, the new format of 1 through 16, we'd have the Rockets playing the Clippers, the Warriors playing the Pelicans, the Raptors playing the Sixers, which I think would be the best matchup of all these. The Celtics would go against the Blazers, very fun. The Cavaliers would go against the Nuggets. The T-Wolves would play the Bucks, and the Wizards would play the Pacers. On first glance, Collin, what do you think of this restructure as a whole? Do you like it? Do you not?
I think it's better for the viewers just because the matchups are a lot better, but I think it wouldn't be as good for the Eastern Conference because then the seedings would be different. But I think as a fan, I would love it if it was seeded that way.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think what it does, one of the pros to it, it does create some more energetic first-round matchups. You're not going to be seeing those like 4 or 5 matchups in the Eastern Conference, which seem to just drag on forever. So what it does create more competitive matchups, but I just think this is something that really isn't necessary in the grand scheme of things if you really look at it.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce off of that. I don't think this move is entirely necessary for the league. I think it does add a little bit of entertainment value, like you said. But with how the East and the West are right now, people say it's been so lopsided the last few years, but that's really just not the case. The only difference between the East and the West this year is the top-ranked Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. They are leaps and bounds better than everyone in the league, and presumably teams over the last decade. These teams are incredible, but other than that, it's pretty even. You look up and down the standings. Now, if this is instituted, Collin, how does this change regular season play for teams?
I think it just changes obviously the matchups will be different. The East and Western Conference will be mixed a little more. I think the records will be a little different, and I think that it'll hurt some of the East teams.
Yeah, I think overall, if you look at this 1 through 16 structure, what it does, it really just kind of disregards the whole idea of having 2 separate conferences and then divisions within the conference. And that not only hurts how we would make the schedule, but I think it kind of hurts those in-division rivalries, which are very storied. I mean, you'll have, in a couple years, I think the Lakers and the Kings could butt into a very good rivalry. You'll have Sixers, Celtics will be a very good rivalry. And I think one of the good things about having divisions is that you have teams like those play each other 4 times in the year, which just makes for a lot of fun for the viewers. So I think it would completely disregard the whole interdivision rivalry aspect of the NBA.
Yeah, you sound right on that. Now, I think there's one positive to this besides the actual entertainment value. I think this gives teams, lower-seeded teams, a little bit less of an incentive to tank. I think it gives them something to shoot for, especially with what was reported yesterday by Zach Lowe. He said they're thinking about a play-in tournament. Now, that would just mean that the lower-seeded teams would have a chance to play into the playoffs, and that will give teams and front offices a chance to say, hey, we can make some more money if we make the playoffs, so let's shoot a little further. So I think that's a positive of it. But other than that, this is a very interesting idea, and right now it's all theoretical. We'll see how it comes out in the next year or two, but let's move on to our next segment of the day. So we're talking Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons, but more specifically, we're going to talk about the Rookie of the Year race. So this has been a phenomenal race so far. Jordan, between the two of these guys, we've narrowed it down before. Between the two of these guys, who do you got as your Rookie of the Year?
I mean, both rookies are fantastic in what they've been doing for their teams, both crucial parts. But I'm going to go with Ben Simmons here. I think he's been the most consistent out of the two throughout the entire year. And if you just look at his numbers, he does literally everything for the Sixers right now. He's averaging 16 points a game, 7.8 rebounds, 7.4 assists, which is 4th in the NBA. And if you think about it, this is Ben Simmons' first time ever playing point guard. If you look back at his LSU days, his high school days, he was always asked to play that power forward because for the most part he was the biggest guy on the court. Now in the NBA, he's adjusting to playing point guard, and he's doing it pretty well. Right now the Sixers are sitting at 31-25 and his running mate Joel Embiid has been fantastic. He's a big reason why they're in the playoffs. But Embiid's missed 10 games this year, and the rookie point guard, first year ever playing point guard, has found a way to put his team right now in the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference at only 21 years old.
So I'm going to bounce off of you with that. I think Donovan Mitchell is the rookie of the year, and here's why. Not only has he individually been spectacular, this season he's had 2 40-point games and 4 30-point games, which is unheard of for a rookie. The Jazz have won 11 in a row dating back just before the All-Star break, and over that stretch he averaged 21.3 points per game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists with a steal and a half. That's pretty impressive, especially for a shorter rookie. But the thing that puts Mitchell over the top for me has to do with what you were saying. When you look at Ben Simmons, he's playing with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is a top 10 player in this league. I firmly believe that. The advanced stats back it up a little bit. Joel currently in the PI, as NBA.com calls it, in the player impact estimate rating, he's 6th in the league. So I think that helps Ben Simmons do pretty much whatever he wants in the court. And while he is incredible, this argument helps Mitchell because Mitchell doesn't have the help that he does. And with what he's done with the Jazz, he's the focal point, he's the leader, it's his first year. He's throwing down these incredible jams. He just won a dunk contest. I think the thing that's going to put it over the top, if the Utah Jazz are a 6th seed or better in the Western Conference playoff, and because of their schedule, that's realistic, I think Mitchell wins. Collin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell as well, just because I feel like on the Jazz he has less help, and I feel like the Sixers are a little more talented. Obviously, we talked about Joel Embiid is with Ben Simmons. They got some good shooters on the team. I just feel like the Jazz, he's doing a little bit more on his own, and I feel like, especially if they get into the playoffs, that I feel like he'll get the nod as Rookie of the Year.
Definitely, just to add on what you guys saying, like I have said, I think Ben Simmons should be the Rookie of the Year, but I think when it comes down to it towards the end of the year in voting, I think that a lot of the voters are going to look at the whole Ben Simmons missed his first year. Is he technically a rookie since his second year? So I think a lot of voters will be looking at that, but despite that, I still think Simmons deserves the nod. He's shooting 53%. I think most of us at this table have a better looking jump shot than him right now, and he's still finding a way to shoot 53% in his rookie season in the NBA, which is just fantastic. But nonetheless, 2 great rookies.
Ultimately, I think this will come down to momentum. Whichever player has the majority of the attention on them at the end of the year, that's who's going to win. Because right now they're neck and neck. 2 great players, and I got to say, the NBA, it's in an incredible spot with its young guys and its current stars. So, building off of that, second half of the season just started, guys. We're going to go over our outlook. How do you see the second half of the season playing out for the 5 final seeds in the Western playoffs? Right now, it's a very, very close race, as we were just talking about. The Jazz right now in the 10th seed could end up at the 6th seed realistically. As it plays out, how do you think it's going to go?
So just to go off what you're saying, so the final 5 seeds in the Western Conference, we have the Thunder at 5, Nuggets at 6, Blazers at 7, and then the Pelicans at 8. I think the Clippers are the 9th seed right now with Jazz at the 10th seed. So these 4 teams, 5 through 8, I don't really see those teams changing much, maybe besides the Jazz. I think the Jazz will overtake the Pelicans, but I think these are going to be the teams that you'll see through 5 through 8. Maybe the order might change a little bit, but I just can't see the Clippers somehow finding a way up into that playoff picture. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like for the most part the seeds are going to stay the same, but I do think the Jazz are going to get up past the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans are going to start to slide a little bit. I don't see like the Blazers dropping out or the Nuggets or anything. I think for the most part it's going to stay the same.
I actually have a question for both of you guys. Let's just touch on the Nuggets for a second. I mean, I think they're surpassing pretty much all expectations this year. They're the 6th seed right now, and they've been doing that without Paul Millsap. So I'm going to start with Rich. What do you think the addition of Paul Millsap will do for the Nuggets? Do you think that gives them a chance to maybe leapfrog the Thunder or maybe even the 4-seed Timberwolves at this point? What do you think that does for them as a team?
As you know, as I said before the season started, I thought this was a 50-win team, the Nuggets. And with Millsap, I firmly believe that. I think they could move up ahead to Thunder, not entirely because of the addition of Millsap, but because of the struggles the Thunder have had without Andre Roberson. They haven't been as good as they were in the beginning of the year. They've got a lot of depth. They don't have a lot of depth. They've got a lot of problems in that regard. So as the season goes on, this is Westbrook's, 3rd, 4th season in a row, going absolutely ballistic energy-wise. Paul George is going to go deep into the playoffs for the first time. I think the fatigue is going to set in a little bit for this team, and the Nuggets are going to have a chance to leapfrog them and get into the top 5 because of the addition of Millsap. Millsap is a phenomenal defender. He's a great player on the offensive end too. He can provide you with that veteran leadership to help these young guys, and they have a very young team. They've got Jamal Murray running the point. Gary Harris is still young. The additions of Millsap and Devin Harris, who I think can have a little bit of credence in that locker room, I think that's going to propel them into the top 5. But other than that, I see the Pelicans dropping out. I see the Blazers staying in. I do see the Jazz getting in there, whether it's going to be the 8 seed or maybe they finish at the 6 or 7. I think the Jazz will come in, Pelicans out, and Nuggets ahead of the Thunder.
I think if you look at the Nuggets and what they want to do from now until the end of the season, I think their play really relies on the play of Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, and Will Barton. Because honestly, if those guys are playing as good as they should be and as good as they can be, I think the Nuggets are honestly the 3rd hardest team to defend in the NBA behind the Warriors and the Rockets. Because if you look at them when Millsap is healthy, when Jokic is healthy, their 2 best playmakers are 6'10", 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's just impossible to guard and scheme for if you're a team. And that's going to give teams nightmares in a 7-game series. There's just so many things that they can do offensively.
Yeah, we saw it a little bit with the Pelicans, Boogie and AD, where this is different. They're both 7-footers. They're both world beaters as players. But you talk about Millsap, he can handle. You talk about Jokic, we know what Jokic can do. He is something to watch, and I would highly recommend watching him as much as you can. But this team is going to be very tough to stop come playoff time, come the regular season. Now, moving on. We kind of just talked about it, but Collin, do you have a team to watch in the second half?
I feel like just going off of who's hot right now, I feel like the Jazz are the team to watch because they've obviously been really hot going into All-Star break, and I feel like if they can keep it up, they can really slide into the playoffs. And so that would be my team to watch.
Jordan?
And just to bounce off what he said, I think my team to watch is the Philadelphia 76ers looking to make the playoff push, but I think the Jazz are an also great pick. If you look at the first half of the season and you were to look up strength of schedule, Sixers and Jazz are top 2. For the rest of the season, the Sixers and the Jazz have the lowest strength of schedule. So these are teams that have put themselves in a great position to make a prime playoff push. And at least for the Sixers, we haven't really seen themselves in a spot to make this type of playoff push in a very long time with this much talent. Rich, what about you?
Yeah, my team to watch, we just saw them beat the Cavaliers yesterday, the Washington Wizards. And the reason I say that is because right now they're a half game behind Cleveland in the 3rd spot in the East. They're without John Wall, and you'd think that'd be a problem, but in reality, it's been a blessing.
Better, yeah.
They've been playing great without John Wall, and that's not to take anything away from John Wall, but the way that this team is playing without his presence there, they're 8-2 without him. Bradley Beal has really taken over as a scorer, as a facilitator, as the main guy in this team. But the thing that has enabled this team to go 8-2 in this stretch has been the ball movement. Tomas Satoransky has come in. He's given them fantastic minutes, and his value has been skyrocketing as of late. They're averaging 30 assists per game without John Wall. Who would have expected that? Without your point guard, you're averaging more assists. So this just shows us something. And the thing we want to keep our eyes on with the Wizards, when Wall does come back, he's going to come back with, I want to say, around 18, 15 games left. Is he going to fit in, or is he going to fit out? Because Wall, we know, he's a showstopper. He likes to dribble. He is that kind of talent where that's not bad. We saw it last year in the playoffs. He took over some games. But with the way this team is playing, they're moving the ball, they're playing together, it's harder to defend like that. So the thing to watch, will John Wall fit in or will he fit out?
I think when it comes down to it, when you're a team that's going to be in the playoffs, I think the regular season game is completely different from the game that you see in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you need your stars to shine the brightest. And if they're playing better with him now than they were when he was hurt, nonetheless, they're going to need John Wall if they're going to look to make a playoff push in the Eastern Conference, which seemingly this year might kind of be up for grabs. So who knows?
Yeah, the East is going to be fun to watch. But to debate you on that real quick, if Wall does fit in and keeps this ball movement thing going, this team has just skyrocketed into maybe a conference finalist.
Yes.
If he fits in and he starts passing the ball around rather than dominating.
They're definitely a team that I could see taking down the Raptors or maybe even the Celtics. Who knows?
Yeah, well, Collin, anything else?
No, you guys pretty much covered it. I think that when he comes back, you'll have to look at like what kind of role they're on as a team. If they're still really hot, you might have to put them on a little bit of a minutes restriction just to keep the chemistry going. But I agree with you guys that once the playoff starts, you're going to need John Wall if you really want to go far.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right. That's going to do it. This has been Full Court Press on Coast to Coast Sports. That's Jordan Desouza. Over there is Collin Terlecki. I'm Richard Geraffo. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to keep up with the NBA as we'll be back here next week with another show.